If you looked at the launch data for Hudson Place Residences at Media Circle, your first reaction might have been pure confusion. It officially launched on 16th of May 2026, moving a massive 61% of its 327 units right out of the gate at an average price of 2,458 PSF. But here's the paradox. This project is over 1 kilometer away from the nearest MRT station. And in Singapore's train-obsessed market with no doorstop MRT, that usually means a slower launch. So why are buyers aggressively snapping up these units? Today, we are performing a breakdown on Hudson Place Residences. We will look at why it performs so well, unpack the possible hidden traps that may catch short-term flippers off guard, and find out if this is indeed an IQ 1000 play or a buyer's nightmare. Let's break down the data on why this project has a stronger than expected launch, and why did it resonate so deeply with the market. Starting with reason number 1, the instant value gap. The biggest driver here is the land cost math. The developer consortium secured Hudson Place at Media Circle Parcel A at 1,037 PSF PPR. Shortly after, the government awarded the nearby Dover Drive GLS at a record-shattering 1,556 PSF PPR. And that is a massive 50% jump in pure raw land costs. This created an instant value gap. Buyers realized that by entering Hudson Place at a finished average PSF of 2,458, they were essentially buying a completed condo for lower than the break-even price of the land parcel just down the road. And number 2, we have the high-performing Neighbour. With Bloomsbury, its sister development by the same developers, 89% sold out, it would seem that this location is highly sought after. After all, other than the land value price gap that we are getting from Dover, we are also instantly getting another price gap thanks to Bloomsbury now buying price starting from 2,600 PSF. At number 3, we have the OCR versus RCR price buffer. We are seeing OCR projects like Parktown and Pinery launches at average 2,300 to 2,500 PSF. Getting into Hudson Place, RCR property in the high-income tech enclave of One North at 2,458 PSF provides an incredible data-backed safe entry buffer based on location alone. Because after all, RCR is better than OCR, right? At number 4, we have the 3-bedroom sweet spot. The market has largely priced middle-class families out of modern 3-bedroom new launches, which frequently crosses the 2.5 million line elsewhere. At Hudson Place, the developers hit the exact affordability sweet spot because they allowed buyers to secure a family-size layout under a digestible price ceiling. And lastly, we have the government's Kampung AI infrastructure anchor. The recent budget announcement, Singapore unveiled massive infrastructure funding for a Kampung AI park at One North. This isn't a corporate office building, it's an integrated ecosystem designed to bring in state-funded influx of 10,000 high-skilled AI and tech professionals directly into the One North precinct. This anchors a rock-solid foundation of high-income rental demands. Those are the shiny pointers from the sales brochure and the sales pitch. Let's flip the data over and talk about the hidden structural issues that some people might be missing out. Number 1, let's talk about the instant price gap. The Dover land parcel sits directly across the street from Fairfield Methodist Primary and Secondary in Singapore's real estate ecosystem. A 1 km priority admission zone to a Tier 1 primary school commands that massive structural premium that parents will pay millions for. Hudson Place, on the other hand, doesn't have that. The Dover plot also sits in a highly integrated residential pocket with amenities and also proximity to One North MRT. Hudson Place, in comparison, is the total opposite of the Dover plot. So why did the developer bid an unprecedented $1,556 PSF PPR for the Dover Drive land plot? Because, as we were discussing in this previous video, they were likely aiming to create a land monopoly here. When buying Dover at a high price, it will make it seem like Hudson Place today is a good deal, seeing that there's this huge price gap between them. But wait, you might also be thinking that there are many land plots for sale that are coming up in this area, right? Because of the new master plan changes. Let's take a look at the land sales happening here so far. We have Media Circle GLS, which became Bloomsbury at 1,191 PSF PPR, and Media Circle Parcel A, which is Hudson Place as we know it, at 1,037 PSF PPR. And moving on to the next two plots, we have Media Circle Parcel B, which received 0 bids in the latest tender, and Media Circle SA2, which is service apartment plot, had a 461 PSF PPR bid from Frasers. This may seem ridiculous, but it was perhaps because it is a 60 years tenure land and also a long-term service apartment that requires at least 3 months commitment. So not the best plot for a developer to invest in unless they change the terms of condition of the land sale over here in the future. And if anything, from this data, it has probably shown us that future land sales can actually be lower than the previous benchmark prices. Contrary to the belief that land sales will always be higher than the one that came before, and it could also be that this location isn't exactly desirable even developers, which led to a lower demand, hence lower bidding prices here. Will the remaining land plots suffer the same fate, or will Hudson Place headlines change the demand over here? Let's take a look at the sister project next door, Bloomsbury Residences. It had a higher land cost of 1,191 PSF PPR and only moved 25% of its units during its launch weekend. Hudson Place, on the other hand, had the lower land cost at 1,037 PSF PPR and moved 61% of its units on its launch weekend. Does that mean that Hudson Place buyers were getting a better deal, hence the higher take-up rate? Not really. What you're seeing right here is a masterclass in developer supply and pricing control. Both developments have the same developer and they could increase Bloomsbury prices up till the launch of Hudson Place to make it look like a good purchase to entice buyers in. And to prove that to you, we are going to be comparing both launches at their starting points. Both have almost the same average PSF and very similar starting prices on their launch day. Similar product, similar location, and similar launch price point a year ago, but two vastly different take-up rates. The developer scheme is definitely working over here. By owning a localized monopoly on both plots, Xingjian and Frosty deliberately used Bloomsbury's climbing prices as a psychological anchor for Hudson Place. They created an illusion of an instant discount at Hudson Place because Hudson Place launched with its prices artificially propped up by Bloomsbury engineered inflation. And that, coupled with the lower land costs and the break-even prices, the developer has definitely managed to get a higher margin for themselves. People would love to call this an integrated light lifestyle because it features a first-story commercial component. Both Hudson Place and Bloomsbury offer 400 square meters, which is approximately 4,300 square feet of retail space each. But let's perform a reality check. 4,300 square feet is not a shopping mall, and for a perfect local comparison, take a look at Normanton Park. Normanton's commercial spaces houses a small supermarket, a convenience store, a cafe, a clinic, and an F&B store. And that is exactly what you will be getting for 4,300 square feet of commercial space. A micro podium for basic daily necessities, but not a retail destination. And maybe the counter argument would be there is 8,600 square feet worth of commercial space if you are combining it with Bloomsbury as well. But the question is, are these commercial spaces downstairs enough to make up for the 1 kilometer bus dependent commute to the MRT station for you or for the future own stay buyers? When 5 different developers own 5 different plots in the area, risk is diversified. If one developer mismanages their funds or the economy takes a downturn, the other 4 projects remain stable. But when Xingjian and 4C controls the massive 951 million Dover Drive site, Bloomsbury and Hudson Place, they potentially could be the single point of failure for the entire micro market. On one hand, this is genius because they eliminate localized competition, but it could could also be interpreted as concentration risk. If a global economic shock hits, or if a developer faces cash flow constraints on a massive billion-dollar project elsewhere, they can't afford to hold the line on prices here. Because they own all of the supply, any financial stress they feel triggers a domino effect across the entire neighborhood. They then potentially become the single point of failure for the district's valuation. If they are forced to clear balance units or face ABSD timelines on their most expensive plots, their pricing behavior later on may affect the people who have entered the developments earlier. And buyers would love the argument that RCR is cheaper than OCR, so it's an automatic win, right? Because location, location, location. But property growth in Singapore isn't just a simple geographical tier list. It is a raw math problem of local supply and demand. Look at Treasure at Tampines versus Normanton Park. Treasure at Tampines is located far out in the RCR, yet its resale transaction volume and price resilience completely defied market expectations. Because it sits in a hyper-mature estate backed by an immense pool of local organic HDB upgraders. Normanton Park and Media Circle, by contrast, sit in residential islands with zero immediate HDB estates. You are entirely dependent on inorganic outsider demand, meaning you will have to actively convince people from other districts to move here, and without the direct access to amenities or MRT. If OCR projects are more expensive but backed by massive local demand and amenities, they can easily outperform a RCR project that is stuck in a local demand vacuum. And what better example to use here other than Normanton Park? Same product, no MRT, has a commercial podium, but has a huge land size and with tons of facilities, but still struggling with the issue of demand in this estate. And here's the argument that may be evading you. If you are entering the 3-bedroom market at Hudson Place for a family-owned stay, you will need to look at the utility gap against the local resale ecosystem. Modern new launches are highly compact and functional, meaning that a 893 square feet 3-bedroom has highly streamlined living spaces and bedrooms, but at a price premium. But for less than $2 million, a family buyer could go right down the resale market down the road and secure a massive 3-bedroom unit that has schools at its doorstep and coffee shop and supermarkets just downstairs, which may actually become a more preferred option in the future. Whether it's the proximity to schools or amenities for kids to self-manage their meals, or even the bigger bedroom sizes that may be more conducive for kids to grow up in. When you try to sell your compact 893 square feet Hudson Place unit in the future, your buyer could just be comparing it with the older sprawling units with massive functional square footage and closer to amenities. If the market shifts back to prioritizing living spaces over that newness premium, your exit strategy hits a hard ceiling. Let's look closer at the government's 10,000 AI workers plan. Yes, it sounds incredibly sexy on paper, but you will have to ask yourself the cold hard question. Are these workers going to be property buyers, or are they going to be transient tenants? High-flying tech researchers and AI specialists are highly mobile, often moving companies or even countries every 2 to 3 years. They are a phenomenal pool for rental yield, but they do not support your future resale exit. Furthermore, on to the rental part, when those corporate tenants look for a place to rent, why would they choose Media Circle when they would have to take a feeder bus every day when they can actually rent one of the units in the newer One North Trio condos located directly on top of the One North MRT station? To attract those premium tenants, landlords at Hudson Place would be forced to compete on price, which means that your projected rental years could face localized competition. And if the current new condo One North Eden in proximity to One North MRT still has vacancies, then this argument of staying within One North is a privilege simply doesn't really hold up here. I'm sure there will still be people who would want to rent there, but we will have to manage expectations a little, especially with 2 more brand new condos coming up in the vicinity of One North MRT coming up in the next few months. And now, with all that said, it is vital to remember that real estate isn't always about profits, or equations on a spreadsheet. If you're buying into Hudson Place Residences, the true luxury is just securing its intrinsic lifestyle value. This pocket of District 5 is one of the most unique, tranquil micro enclaves in Singapore. You will be living alongside the historic Wessex estate, surrounded by colonial black and white bungalows, lush heritage trees, and an artistic low-density tranquility that is almost impossible to find anywhere else on our island. In the long run, we are talking about a horizon of decade or even decades. The government master plan will fully materialize. The surrounding land plots, especially the ones across the road, will eventually be redeveloped, and this entire precinct will be a highly vibrant and self-sustaining estate. And once you have that, then the strengths of Hudson Place will come into play because you will have a better product to compete against the trio of newer condos next to One North MRT. But I'm giving you a realistic timeline. Do not expect this transformation to happen overnight. It will have substantial gestation time. If you enter here today, you must buy it because you genuinely love the development for what it is, or maybe value its serene environment and have stable financial holding power to let the district grow around you, whether it's for rental yield or whether it's to hold on for future developments. Hudson Place Residences is a highly efficient, yield-first property that is structurally backed by a powerful developer monopoly, but is definitely not a product for the usual real estate property portfolio. If you're looking past the marketing hype, stress test your holding costs over a 10-year horizon, or do a deep dive audit of the remaining balance you need. Don't make a multi-million dollar decision based on a feeling. So what do you think? Is this a true IQ 1000 masterstroke, or is this going to be a developer's nightmare when it TOPs? Comment down below. I'm ASAP, and I will see you in the next video.